Hello there, Sarah here. Part of my work as an integrative registered dietitian is to explore the art of intentional eating. What does that term mean? Intentional eating. It can mean a number of things to different people. But for me, an important part of this idea is continually re examining our beliefs, our patterns, our habits, tendencies, and choices around food to see if they are in alignment with what we most want, how we want to feel, how we want to show up, how those food choices might impact the trajectory of different health concerns or conditions that we might be working with. Many of our actions in life in general, and with food specifically, are habitual, can go unexamined, and really fly under the radar, don't really take a lot of thought. Intentional eating can turn some of that habitual eating, some of those habitual patterns on their head. So I'd invite you to take a moment to consider, are your eating habits exactly where you would like for them to be? I didn't ask if you are eating like someone else has told you to eat or like you think you should. But if eating habits are exactly where you would like them to be, if not, why not? Where do habits come from? The three important components of a habit are often conceptualized as first, a cue, secondly, routine or behavior, and then third, a reward. When you're thinking about how habits are formed, strengthened, reinforced, you can think of the cue as being a trigger for eating. It may have been the time of day, the clock, a location that you were in, or people that you were with, a physical sensation, grumbling, cramping, shakiness, or even an emotional state, feeling stressed, feeling tense, wanting to feel a sense of relief. What about the behavior? The behavior in this habit loop, this cue, routine or behavior, and then reward, has to do in this example of food with what you ate and how you ate it. Think about the speed of eating, the choice you made, the amount that you had eaten. Now, for the third component, the reward. When we make eating decisions, we experience some kind of reinforcement from eating. It could be a change in the way that you feel. Eating could be helping you to feel better. It could be a negative reaction to a bitter flavor that's in a food. It could be a sense of pleasure that lifts your mood, right? The type of reinforcement that you receive, whatever it is, can become programmed in a way so that when you are in a state where you are experiencing some kind of a cue, thinking about emotional eating, the cue might be feeling sad or feeling upset. Where when you know that if a food allows you to feel better, has lit up some reward centers in your brain, or has given you a bit of emotional relief, the memory of that positive reinforcement can begin to feel especially relevant, or as it's termed in the psychology literature, salient to you the next time that you experience a certain state that reinforcement can change. So, for example, when you were young, perhaps 11, 12, 13, you could have come home from school, had really stressful days at school, and perhaps you had chocolate chip cookies waiting for you. So, without even intentionally associating these two things, you might start to think more than two things. You might start to think about chocolate chip cookies as bringing you a sense of warmth, of pleasure, of closure, that it's the end of a difficult or stressful, intellectually challenging day. If you had family around, potentially of community. When there are patterns associated with food, could be cookies, could be a number of other things. Not to demonize the cookies, not at all, not at all. But the idea here is that some of these automatic habit loops, again, can fly under the radar. So when you're thinking about how to bring eating more into alignment, you often need to address one of these three components, either by changing the cue, finding other ways to shift an emotional state, perhaps, changing the behavior, potentially by changing what's available to you, or the reward. That's a little bit harder to change, but could be done through some mindfulness related work. It's really interesting, the idea of taste satiety and pleasure and what you really love. Some really interesting work to do around that. If you're trying to get a sense of where some of these connections might be present in your life, a good place to start for self-monitoring, my guidance, my suggestion would be with a food mood journal where you just start to jot down what you ate, what you had, and what was going on with you emotionally at the same time, perhaps before and after. So you can start to build up a record that's black and white in the open, and then bring that to a provider, a professional that you trust to help you make sense of what might be going on and to figure out what you may want to change to allow you to feel or react differently when it comes to food and eating. If you visit my website, you can find my free food mood journal if you'd like. My website is Sarah Fehara RD, spelled SarahFehira.com. You should see it at the very, very bottom there. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here today. And as always, I hope that this information was helpful to you, and that it gave you some more ideas for exploring for yourself what the art of intentional eating means and how you can apply it to your own life to optimize your energy, your digestive function, your mood, and really just feel like the healthiest version of yourself when it comes to nutritional well-being. So, I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much.